his own, and this country's better interest than the world's generally if he were to be exuding a somewhat more optimistic tone in his media.
However, Federal Treasurer Paul Keating was prepared to concede that Rupert Murdoch could well be right in one forecast. Consumer demand in Australia could well slow down. But, said the Treasurer, the strength of the Australian economy was such that its growth would continue and recession would be avoided. Peter Harvey, Canberra.
Ignoring overnight falls in London and New York, the Australian stock market closed higher today. The All Ordinaries up 14 points. Our dollar remains steady. The Australian Broadcasting Tribunal began an inquiry today into the billion-dollar takeover of Kerry Packer's television and radio stations by Bond Corporation. The hearing is expected to last all week. First in the witness box was Alan Bond himself.
When Alan Bond purchased Kerry Packer's electronic media interests 10 months ago, the Perth businessman created Australia's first genuine television network, an empire that also includes 9 city and regional radio stations. But judging by today's opening of the Broadcasting Tribunal hearing, it's an empire that has also raised a number of legal questions. Questions about local production and drama, and a concern over the independence of the Nine Network's news and current affairs operations. Alan Bond told the tribunal he saw no danger in a large, diversified company such as Bond Corporation having a major stake in the Australian media. But in this submission to the hearing, the Australian Journalists Association and Actors Equity have called for an investigation into what they call the fitness and propriety of both the company and Alan Bond personally. The first of several Nine executives to give evidence, Alan Bond was questioned at length about viewing a recent 60 Minutes story on human rights violations in Chile prior to the program going to air. The story was used after Mr. Bond came out in support of the Pinochet regime, comments that were criticised by the Prime Minister. Today, he told the tribunal in a statement, "I and Bond Corporation do not, have not, and will not seek to impose any editorial views on our media interests." The tribunal hearing will continue for the rest of the week. Another point to be raised by the tribunal itself, the network's decision not to continue last night's live coverage of the World Cup cricket final. Brad Schmidt, National 9 News.
Sydney teachers have voted to strike on Thursday, delaying the marking of HSC exam papers. A meeting of 3,000 teachers today decided on the action, despite a government promise to offer a pay rise at talks tomorrow. The state government launched a major new facility today for the treatment of kidney stones, but was immediately criticised for not having it operating months ago. Costing more than $4 million, the unit at Sydney's Prince Henry Hospital does away with the need for surgery.
The lithotripta, as it's called, drastically reduces the trauma for patients needing their kidney stones removed. No longer the daunting prospect of going under the knife. Instead, as Premier Unsworth demonstrated, the lithotripta pumps out a series of shock waves, which shatter the kidney stones. The remnants are then passed out through the bladder. Only in service for 10 days, the $3 million unit had been sitting idle at Prince Henry for 20 months and was beaten into service by more than a year by an identical unit installed at a private hospital in the western suburbs. The opposition says the delay is a disgrace.
If I'd been the Premier, I would have been too embarrassed to go out there today to open that lithotripta.
But Barry Unsworth says there's nothing to be ashamed of, pointing out the lithotripta wasn't installed until now because a multi-million-dollar centre in which the machine is housed had to be built first. And while he was at Prince Henry, the Premier moved to head off a strike by nurses there over rumours that the hospital was to close.
This facility will remain in full operation.
And while the government moved to dispel the fears of the staff here at Prince Henry, it was also trying to make peace with country doctors, with the announcement of a $300,000 package in answer to their long-standing pay demands. However, the peace initiative came too late for more than 200 country GPs who've already resigned from their posts at 59 hospitals.
The country doctors are torn apart by this because their natural instinct is to stay there and keep on working.
And Bruce Shepherd says the government's package is a drop in the bucket and that there's no chance of it being accepted by doctors. Stephen Fenley, National 9 News.
The federal government is taking its campaign against drug abuse onto prime-time television and video. Directed at young people and parents, it has launched a feature film about 2 teenage addicts hooked on heroin and alcohol.
Don't Be the Last to Know was produced by Film Australia as part of the federal government's national campaign against drug abuse.
I wanted people to know me as, oh, Jono, the big druggo. That's what they used to call me.
It highlights the fact that often parents are the last to know their children are on drugs because they don't recognise the signs. The young people in the film are former drug users who give an honest account of how they fooled their parents and how their families cope with the truth.
A lock it out, a lock on it. And then my parents coming in on me in this.
At the launch today, Carol Willesee, whose husband Michael narrates the film, summed up the effect it had on her as a parent.
That I, who thought I was well informed, was not well informed. And some of the things that I had been telling my children were wrong.
Health Minister Neil Blewett says the film will be an eye-opener for parents.
And the stress on this film was to encourage parental awareness, but also good sense.
Don't Be the Last to Know will premiere on the 9 network on Sunday, November 22nd at 7:30 p.m. In December, it will be available for hire, free of charge, in video shops. Robin Wade, National 9 News.
More sport is next with Ken Sutcliffe, Greg Norman down under to practice his driving and fine-tuning for the Australian Grand Prix.
I hate selling to those New World guys. I sell good meat, but for them, the standard's never high enough. And they always want the best, for less, which is great for you, because they pass on the savings. I mean, look at these specials.
Whole rump steak a loaf, $4.99 a kilo. You'll save. And pork leg steaks are tempting $7.99 a kilo. That's great value.
Sure, I hate selling to New World, but I love buying from them.
High standards, low prices. It's made Coles New World Australia's favourite supermarket.
Even in a dream, could you imagine a beauty cream so light, so sheer? Oil of Ulan Beauty Cream, whose every touch is dewy cool and fresh, whose every stroke is soothing, softening. Discover Oil of Ulan Beauty Cream, a dream of younger-looking skin come true.
Welcome to the new Greetings Oxford Koala Hotel. The restaurant and menu are first class with a team of Swedish chefs. New services. Susan of Visitors Information will help you discover Sydney. Relax in the renovated rooms. At Greetings Paddington Gardens, a seafood and pasta restaurant, Cafe Columbus, is opening. At Greetings Bondi Junction, Susie and Matthew are busy renovating Australia's first Wattles restaurant. In Sydney, stay with Greetings.
Yes, once in a lifetime, a once in a year sale. You can't do better than Kmart's dress sale. So what are you waiting for?
Top skirts, so cheap. More skirts, can't beat.
Rah-rah! Aha!
And shirts, dead cert.
So what are you waiting for?
The world's #1 golfer Greg Norman flew into Adelaide today, hungry for victory in this week's South Australian Open. Norman will get plenty of driving in Adelaide, on the golf course and the racetrack. Before next Sunday's Grand Prix, he'll be taking the wheel in a celebrity car race.
Norman touched down briefly with his wife in Sydney this morning before taking a jet to Adelaide, where he quickly put this season into perspective.
I mean, it hasn't been a bad year in the way financially wise, but you know, I've knocked on the door quite a few times of winning golf tournaments.
It was putts like this in last week's Nabisco Championship that have cost the Great White dearly, still leaving him anything but destitute.
You know, I feel as though I haven't putted well, but in actual fact, you can't putt poorly to win $600,000.
Norman did have an answer to his lack of tournament wins, though.
I know I've practiced a lot more, spent a lot more hours on the driving range, and I guess it's like a racehorse. You overtrain a racehorse, he's not going to perform on the racetrack on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Teeing off at the Westlakes course later brought back memories of his first pro win here in 1976.
Of course, there's always something special. You know, you can always remember the first thing you ever did.
The week won't be complete, however, as close friend and golfing partner Nigel Mansell will miss the Adelaide Grand Prix after that crash in Japan.
I guess it's sort of a hollow week for me because we're both keen on spending 3 weeks together and having a sort of a vacation next week.
Norman won't be doing all his driving on the golf course this week. He'll also be taking part in a Grand Prix celebrity race
in something a little less luxurious. David Peters, National 9 News.
The build-up for next weekend's Australian Grand Prix stepped up another notch today, with most of the Formula One teams now in Adelaide going through the unpacking process. The Williams team confirmed in no uncertain manner that Nigel Mansell will be a definite non-starter. They are yet to nominate a replacement driver, if any. That decision will be made by boss Frank Williams when he arrives in town tomorrow. Ferrari are hoping to end the season on a high note, especially after their encouraging win in Japan a week ago. However, the team's barometer shows signs of a fairly turbulent week ahead. Official practice begins on Thursday. And that will be a great week.
You're going down for the race?
Certainly am. Looking forward to it too.
Absorb the colour, the excitement?
Everything.
OK, we'll talk to you from down there. Okay. Alan Wilkie, well, I'll talk to you. Yeah, you know what I mean. Alan Wilkie's next with the latest weather details. Then, the toughest ladies under the rising sun.
Eat a spread so smooth, tastes just great. What do you reckon, love? Eat a 5-star, great taste, great value.
I think I fancy some nobbies, please.
You think you fancy some nobbies?
Yes, please.
Which nobbies do you think you fancy?
I think I fancy
Salted peanuts, cashews, beer nuts, dry roasted, mixed nuts?
Excuse me?
Excuse me, yes?
I think I fancy some nobbies.
Fancy some nobbies. Yes. Salted peanuts, cashews, beer nuts, dry roasted...
Beer nuts. I think I fancy some beer nuts.
Cashews, excuse me. Fancy some fobbies? Salted peanuts, cashews, beer nuts, dry roasted, mixed nuts.
Oh, mixed nuts.
Salted peanuts, cashews, near nuts, polted sea nuts, nashews.
Cashews.
Nashews. Bless you. Fancy some nobbies?
If fly spray gets up your nose, new low-irritant Black Flag Dry has the answer. It kills flies fast, but won't wet or stain. New Black Flag Dry won't get up your nose, won't wet or stain, but kills flies fast.
Hearing loss is a gradual process that creeps up on you before you know it. One day you realise that voices and other sounds tend to become confusing and merge into each other.
What's wrong with you?
Can be embarrassing, but also can be easily fixed. Most degrees of hearing loss can be overcome without the embarrassment of large, cumbersome aids. Contact Hearing Aid Specialists Orange on 631869. This week also at Parks, Forbes and Cowra Grenfell. See Yellow Pages for numbers.
If you see some trouble coming, don't look the other way. Get right in and say, do you need a hand? An awkward situation is never far away. Just might save the day if you lend a hand.
Do you need a hand? Do you need a hand? Be the first to say you need a hand.
Good evening, everyone. Widespread falls of rain over New South Wales today, except up in the northeast quarter. The highest falls, 17 millimetres at Narrandera and 16 at Albury. And a few scattered thunderstorms on the southern tablelands, southwest slopes in the Hunter and also along the mid-north coast. 24 degrees in the city. Surprise, surprise with the rain this afternoon. 23 at Liverpool and only 20 at Richmond. They had heavier rain there. The maximum this afternoon at Katoomba, you can see 14 degrees. Temperature now in the city is down 2 at 19. The humidity is quite high, which isn't surprising, at 82%. And the wind from the east-northeast at 5 kilometres per hour. 1 or 2 scattered showers about overnight and easing tomorrow. Humid northeasterly winds turning southerly around about midday and southeast during the afternoon. Maximum temperatures 24 near the coast, 25, 26 degrees inland. The tides, high water at 11:54 p.m, 1.6 metres. The sun will rise at 5:48 and set at 31 minutes after 7. Temperatures around the state close to average in many areas, but in the heavier rainfall areas below average, of course. Brewarrina had the top reading, temperature-wise, of 31 degrees, and Perisher Valley overnight down to 1. On the weather chart, very interesting isobars here, and you can see a trough leading down from Queensland into the northern part of New South Wales along the western part of the ranges, and that's where most of the thunderstorm activity occurred. They drifted across towards the coast during the afternoon. That trough of kinds will move across towards the coast tomorrow ahead of a southerly change coming along, and there will be further showers and also some scattered thunderstorms in that trough tomorrow afternoon, particularly up in the northeastern part of New South Wales where they didn't have rain today. That will move up in that direction there. But after that goes through, of course, we have this area of high pressure coming along, and that will stabilise things certainly over the inland part of New South Wales where winds will be southerly and a little cooler there. The satellite picture, have a look at that. that, and you can see the cloud, most of it over the eastern districts of New South Wales today, and patchy cloud out in the west, and that cloud, as mentioned, will move up towards the northeast, giving some rain there during the afternoon. A few storms in Brisbane during tomorrow afternoon, a top of 27 degrees. Showers for Melbourne, 18 there, 24 for Adelaide, across in Perth, 34 degrees, very warm afternoon. For tomorrow, cloudy periods, maybe 1 or 2 scattered showers in Sydney. Wednesday, humid with southeast winds. Thursday, the showers will clear and become warmer, Brian.
OK, Alan, thank you. Making it big in Japan these days is not all to do with high-tech cars and microchip computers. For some, the road to riches lies in the wrestling ring. But sumos can move over. This game is strictly for the girls. Hardly heavyweights, these ladies earn up to $250,000 a year for some pretty wild antics. Star of the show is this performer, not the sort of girl you'd take home to meet your mother. Dump Maximoto is the Miss Nasty of Japanese wrestling. Her opponents are usually smaller and prettier, and she always plays dirty. The audience, largely made up of teenage girls, is kept from complete hysteria by a little poetic justice. At the end of the show, Dump finally gets a taste of her own medicine. Riddle rough, those radies. The way it is, Monday the 9th of November. This is Brian Henderson. Good night.